This is Karen Foshay for KCET in California. Early in November, the conditions for wildfire were ripe for explosion in California. A combination of low humidity, strong wind, and drought-like conditions helped fuel a series of fires that would devastate the region and kill dozens of people.
Parents have been here since the 70s. Their house burned down. My brother's house burned down in Seminole Springs. Parents' house in Trancas. It's been a nightmare.
Within days of erupting, the Camp Fire in Northern California grew to become the most deadly and destructive fire in state history, destroying entire communities. Residents near Malibu were chased from their homes as the Wolseley Fire marched across their once bucolic neighborhood and through the canyons of Ventura County.
This is a bad one. And so many homes in so many areas, all from Decker to Malibu West to Malibu Park to the Point, which has never burned in my lifetime being here, has never burned on the Point. So this was a shock to a lot of people.
The Hill Fire, also northwest of Los Angeles, began on the same day as the Wolseley and Camp Fires. Firefighters now faced 3 wind-driven infernos determined to burn through the California landscape. California's long, dry summer is great for agriculture, and the Mediterranean climate is a huge draw for the millions of people who make the state home. But it also makes much of the state vulnerable for wildfires. In a normal year, October brings rain and relief from the drought, but this year, the rains didn't come, making the vegetation as dry as it is in the height of the summer.
Unbelievable.
Santa Ana winds are also common during the fall and the winter in California. This year, they came with a roar, reaching 60 to 70 miles per hour in some places. The heat actually creating its own weather, like this fire tornado. The fire came too fast for many people.
I had actually been out of town, so I didn't even have a chance to save anything when the fire came through.
Firefighters concentrated on saving lives, leaving behind entire communities to burn.
I've been in the Paradise area since I was 4, so it's not just losing a house, it's losing my community.
From California to Colorado to Arizona, increasing wildfires are threatening life and property.
I'm Lori Jane Gliha, reporting for Rocky Mountain PBS in Colorado, where one of the state's largest wildfires recently devastated hundreds of homes like this one. And as the population continues to grow, so does the risk.
In your mind, you know it could happen, but you never think it's going to happen to you.
Crumbled concrete and metal debris mark the lots where dozens of homes once stood in Colorado's serene Forbes Park neighborhood.
You know that going in that's a risk you take.
Volunteer firefighter Brent Poindexter knows the danger of building in an area surrounded by a dense forest filled with thick pines.
And it's probably more of a not if it's going to happen, it's more of when.
Neighbors Pat and Griff Pritchard recognized the risks too.
We just kept saying, if anything happens, it's just a tinderbox up here.
Yeah.
And in the summer of 2018, something did happen. Flames from a man-made blaze grew into the state's 3rd largest wildfire in history. It ravaged more than 100,000 acres of land and turned Tracy Wetzler's dream house overlooking the mountains into a mound of ash in a matter of hours.
There's some shingles. This is a pile of shingles that were extra.
17 years ago, Wetzler and her husband Dick couldn't resist this remote getaway in Costilla County, Colorado.
And then over the hill there, that's where your house.
Right, so you can see the pile of debris that's in the dumpster there.
It seemed like the perfect place to find peace and build a home. So much so, she convinced her parents, the Pritchards, to build one too. Theirs was one of the first homes to go. Hundreds of others were damaged or destroyed.
We just went past house after house that was just in rubble, and we got to our property. There were no words.
I'm mad that it happened to me, but I'm more mad that it happened to them and I can't fix it. You want to make it I think they want to fix it for us. We want to fix it for them, and you can't.
It is what it is, and you can't change it. So rather than be depressed about it, move on. So.
The Forbes Park neighborhood sits in the middle of what state forest officials say is a high-risk area for fire.
You see all these areas of red in here. Red means it's the most intense risk.
State Forester Mike Lester says communities like it are part of the Wildland-Urban Interface, or WUI, a place where man-made structures sit within or very close to flammable vegetation or fuels, making the danger for fire even greater.
There is a lot of places for people to move. Now, whether they should move there or not, or what they need to be cognizant of, that's another matter altogether. They do need to think about the fuels in the neighborhood, the materials they use to build their homes. These are all things you need to think about.
In Colorado, state data shows half the population now lives in a WUI, up about 12 percentage points from 6 years ago. And in areas across the West, danger zones like these are growing as the population expands. There are natural contributors that affect fire behavior too. In Colorado, for example, Lester says beetles killed millions of forest acres in recent decades, more than ever has been observed by forest officials in Colorado history. They left behind brittle trees and brush. Lester says improving the forest's health can prevent future problems.
I would say when you have a forest that's overcrowded with fuels, probably your safest bet is to use logging equipment to remove that fuel.
Brent Poindexter took us on a tour to show us how fast fire can spread, even when neighbors take special precautions to remove trees and brush from around their homes.
So basically this is where, when this part of the fire came over the hill right here and went across, and then on the other side over there is where my house is.
He says the strategy for stopping a burn has changed over the years, especially with more humans and structures in vulnerable areas.
If there wasn't these houses weren't here, we would obviously just let it burn and let Mother Nature do its thing. But now that these guys put their, I'm just a rookie, I've been on one fire now, but they put their lives on the line to save people's structures.
Even as firefighters take increased risks,
It just looks small, pretty much.
sometimes it's not enough. Brent Poindexter.
That's the stove from upstairs. That's basically right above where that stove is was the kitchen.
Lost his own home.
These fires are, what I think people don't understand is the fire's here, but the wind's blowing embers on the other side of the valley. So a mile away, another fire pops up over there. There's really nothing you can do.
When you try to think, what could I have done different to have protected my home, I think for some of them there was enough time for the Type 2 fire team to get in and start protecting homes.
For Tracy Wetzler and her family,
that was out the back of our house.
The fire risks do not outweigh the beauty and tranquility of the Forbes Park neighborhood. The plan now? To move forward, each with an empty lot, a blank slate, and endless new possibilities.